Alright then, hi everyone. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. I've been busy making a costume for a fantasy event that I did just over the last weekend, but that's done now, it's out the way and I can get back to making these. So let's get into it. The Infernal Magister. This is the first sort of preview thing from the new Thousand Suns Codex. I will be doing a whole review series on that because it's an army that I like and I can, set out my own army and do all that sort of, tactics videos and stuff. Looking forward to going through the Codex. So this model, it's okay. I don't think that I do think it looks nice. I do think it looks nice, but it's pretty lackluster in my opinion. It looks like a good kit bash. It looks like something you could do yourself just out of the aspiring sorcerer type bits, because honestly it's not much more fancy looking than a regular aspiring sorcerer. And compared to the exalted sorcerers and things, maybe even other third-party sorcerers you use already, it's not that special. It's kind of plain, but it looks good. It's at least kind of clean and sleek, and it does have a decent look to it. The horns are a bit iffy, I think. The right arm looks a bit stiff, but it's okay. I would have preferred, if we're talking about a single infantry model, I would have preferred maybe something a bit more central on the base, a bit more symmetrical, maybe with his hands up like this and a huge flowing cloak behind him, something a bit more kind of bam, or even gone all the way for a sort of centerpiece large base model like the Triumph of St. Catherine. I think that's what it's called, for the Sister Battle, where there's a tomb and like 6 of them all around it. Something like that, almost like a Thousand Suns Casket of Souls, where it's this big base, big round 80mm base, or a large sort of Maulatheme style base with a big kind of obelisk temple type thing where he's on like a dais with a huge book, and he's got his staff and he's like with a big demon coming out of the book. That kind of thing would have been nice, but it is what it is. It's a fairly simple model. I will buy it. I think it looks nice, but it's not it's not that impressive in my opinion. Now the rules are actually pretty good, I think. You've had 2 previewed. There's 2 out of 6. There's 6 to choose from. Seems like you get to have 2. It sounds like you can choose them. I hope you can choose them. But it is Games Workshop. You might have to roll, but I'm hoping you can choose them. They do have to be successful. So while they haven't told us what the mechanic is yet, I'm going to just assume it's going to be like a Dark Apostle, where they're probably going to go off on a 3+, maybe a 2+, if we're lucky. Maybe there'll be something to make it a 2+. I'm going to just think they go off on a 3+ like a Dark Apostle, though. That's what I think is going to happen. And just from these 2 that we've seen, I actually would already buy this model and use this model and think that it's quite useful, because they're better than what I think that your buffs would normally get. I'm definitely interested to see what the other 2 are. So one of the things that I like about them is they have applicability. Often buffs and things tend to be nice, but maybe not flexible in a lot of situations. Something like the Death Guard, for example, they have a lot of buffs that affect their damage output, but they're so short range, 6 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, that sort of thing, that you have to have the characters right there with the given squad that you want to buff, and that squad may not always be in the right position, or you may not want to have your character that close because they're not very good at doing much if you're talking about a biologist putrefier and that sort of thing. So the fact that both of these powers that we have previewed so far have a 24-inch range, with the only limitation being that they need line of sight, that to me is great, because it means you can have this guy actually back a little bit behind your battle line, not right there next to the squad he's trying to buff, and he's able to still give these buffs out, which means not only is it most likely you're going to be able to put them where you actually need them, you're not going to have to be risking him unnecessarily, and you're going to be able to actually react on the spot, rather than thinking, okay, well, I've got this guy that gives a 6-inch aura to one specific squad, so he has to be there with this one squad, and if that squad needs the buff tough, they're not within 3 inches, so they can't have it. It means you're going to be able to actually look at your army as a whole, within 24 inches, probably most of your army, with a small army like Thousand Suns especially, and really be able to decide who needs it at a given time, and that's nice. So one of the ones they give you is Shutdown Overwatch. Not just Shutdown Overwatch though, they lose the benefits of cover if they have it, they can't Overwatch, and they can't set to defend. That's okay. I think it could be quite nice if you have a really nasty Overwatch unit and you can turn it off. I'm not normally a fan of these sort of turn off Overwatch things because, again, it's normally an aura on one unit or one character, like a warlord trait or something, and you have to have that specific character in a specific situation, and it just never really works out, probably. But the fact that you can just pick and choose this 24 inches, I think that's actually really good. You probably will use this more than if it was another sort of smaller range rule. And the other one they give you, and my favourite so far, is +1 strength to range attack. So you would choose your squad of rubric marines, whether they've got warp fire bolters or warp fire flamers or inferno bolters, +1 strength to that squad within 24 inches. So strength 5. Now, if you're, rapid firing, maybe 20 shots, well, 18 shots, because the aspiring sorcerer doesn't have one. 18 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 3s now, AP -2, pretty good. Flamers, I don't take the flamers myself, they're too expensive. They make the rubric marines like 35 points or something crazy. It's like 17 points for a flamer, and then like 18 points for the rubric. It's too much for me, but if you'd use them, that could be quite good too. I think that getting the 3s to wound on space marines and things is going to be really huge. Having this guy just hanging around in the back wing somewhere, able to just pick and choose who gets +1 to win this phase. I'm imagining they're still going to have some kind of veteran's ability, even if it's called something else and costs 2 command points, like with the Death Guard. Eternal Hatred, I think it was. So potentially you can put, +1 strength to get your bolters wounding marines on 3s on that squad, and still have veterans to get +1 to wound on somewhere else, or both, because it's +1 strength, not +1 to wound. So you could get your bolters to strength 5, and then use this potentially Eternal Hatred, that sort of thing, to get +1 to wound and make it 2s. And if you've already cast Prescience, if that still exists on a unit, so you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s maybe, with AP -2 bolters. Maybe you've also taken away their cover benefit if they were in cover, so now it's just 5-up saves with not even +1 for cover, that sort of thing. It could be quite nasty, and who knows, they may even keep the ability, the stratagem that allowed them to double their rapid fire, so you could get 40 shots out of a unit of 10 guys. The Death Guard used to have that, they lost it, so I feel like the Thousand Suns may have lost that as well, although I hope they keep it because they're such a small numbers army. I find it really useful, especially if you're playing an army that's more numerous like orcs and that sort of thing. It's really not good to just have your 10 regular bolter, because AP2 means nothing, they haven't got many shots, and even against something like Marines, the D3 mortal wounds all over the place, it's quite nasty, but against orcs and that sort of thing, doesn't matter, it's irrelevant, D3 orcs doesn't matter at all. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good unit, pretty good preview. I'm more excited, I'd say, about the rules than the actual unit itself, which, it's a bit lackluster. You could easily convert your own one out of a aspiring sorcerer or something, or maybe one of the spare exalted sorcerers you had lying around from that box of 3. You don't need 3 of them. In terms of the stat lines, I imagine he's going to be a weapon skill blizzard skill 3+. 4 wounds, 3 attack type stat line, rather than the exalted sorcerer 2s to hit, 5 wounds, 4 attacks type stat line. I think that he's going to be a lesser character, like a Dark Apostle type thing, rather than the full-on exalted sorcerer level. I could be wrong, obviously, but I feel like that's probably more likely. He's going to be a lesser sort of 3+ to hit type character, which is good because ultimately you're just taking him for those rules to have him standing there buffing units, so you don't want to waste any more points on things that he doesn't need, so I'm okay with that. That's pretty good in my opinion. I'm looking forward to getting the Codex. Really I'm going to be going through that. I didn't get to play Thousand Suns very much in 8th edition or in 9th edition with their 8th edition Codex. I've played maybe 3 games, I think, 2 games maybe normally, and then I think I did 1 game with the actual Ritual of the Damned add-ons, maybe 2 games with the Ritual of the Damned add-ons. But anyway, I'm excited to start using them. I'll be excited to make a new video series talking about the Thousand Suns. I will hope to do a lot more videos on the Thousand Suns than I did the Death Guard, because I felt like I was late to the party on the Death Guard. I didn't get to that until after it'd been out for a month or so. So I didn't really bother doing too many videos on that, because I just figured people have already kind of got around to it. But if I can re-jump on the Thousand Suns this time, if I can jump on them, I will. and I'll get a nice load of videos out like I didn't for the Death Guard. But that's all I've got to say about the not Exalted Sorcerer, Infernal Magister. Yeah, the Infernal Magister. All I've got to say about him tonight. So, you know, any opinions you've got, if you've watched this far into the video, any opinions you've got, leave them below. I'll be interested to read them. And hopefully we'll be having some more rules previews soon, maybe some psychic powers. They did mention that there were 2 expanded disciplines, so you know, whether that refers to Dark Hereticus and the discipline of Zinj or Change, I forget which one is the demon one and which one is the marine one. Whether it just is referring to those 2, or whether we get, you know, another 2, maybe a whole another 2 in addition to those 2, not sure. But that'll be interesting to start seeing those previews. I hope that we haven't lost Prescience, Warp Time, Death Hex, that sort of thing. Those are good powers. I'll be happy to keep them personally. But we'll just have to see. So thank you, and hopefully I'll see you soon, now that I've got time to make videos again.